Welcome to the latest episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. This is episode 204, Black Tea versus Green Tea, their health benefits compared to coffee. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Real World Nutrition. Today I am talking about tea, black tea, green tea, and how they compare to coffee. So if you've been listening for a while or even just this summer, so the last couple months, you might recall in episode 195, Coffee, Caffeine, and Energy, What Helps, What Hurts, I did briefly mention tea, and I said I would dedicate a whole episode to tea because that wasn't the topic of that one. So this is that episode, talking tea today. So tea is one of the most widely consumed beverages in the world, second only to water. So whether it's hot or iced, sweetened or unsweetened, tea has been an integral part of cultures worldwide for centuries. If you think about it, from England to China to all over the world, tea is part of many cultures. And even though I am 100% team coffee in the mornings, tea does have a place in my daily routine too. So I grew up drinking tea as far back as I can remember, like 7, 8, 9, drinking tea. So first up, I want to just say, spoiler, you don't have to pick between black tea or green tea. So some people are very, very strong about which one they prefer or which one is better. But really, both do fit into a healthy lifestyle. But there are some differences worth talking about, and so that's what I'm going to address today. Now, first up, what is tea? So I want to start with the basics. It may seem obvious, but not everybody knows this. So both black and green tea come from the same plant. And the difference isn't the plant, but the way the leaves are processed. So a lot of people assume that black tea and green tea are from different plants, but no. So green tea is the leaves of the plant quickly steamed or pan-fired right after it's harvested. So that helps keep the leaves green and that flavor lighter, even the color lighter when you brew it. Black tea, on the other hand, is fully oxidized. So these leaves are exposed to air, they darken, and the flavor deepens. And when I use the term oxidized, if you think about an apple or an avocado, once you cut it open and let it sit open to oxygen or to the air, it starts to darken. So that's what happens with the tea leaves when it's black. So it's just oxidized, exposed to oxygen, exposed to air. So there's also white tea, which is also from the same plant. You don't see that very often, but that comes from the younger leaves and buds. So before it would be green or black tea, this is the white tea. And it's lighter in both flavor and usually a lot lighter in caffeine as well. And then we do have what people call herbal teas, chamomile, peppermint tea, rooibos. It's not Rubio's, rooibos. I'm not saying it right. But those aren't actually teas, because they don't come from the tea plant. And technically they are what we call infusions or tisanes. They can be caffeine free. They're usually caffeine free. They do have other benefits. They're just not the same as true teas from that tea plant. So for today, I want to make it clear, I'm mostly talking about black and green tea, and I'll have that tiny mention of herbal tea. So now I want to talk about the health benefits of real tea. When I was younger, I remember there being instant tea. I don't even know if that's around anymore, but if it is, I don't know what the details are on that. So talking about real tea from tea leaves. And what most people want to know, those health benefits. So both black and green teas do have plant compounds called flavonoids. And these are antioxidants. And these are the same kind of beneficial compounds that are found in fruits, vegetables, cocoa, coffee, and even red wine. So these plant compounds The flavonoids and all these other ones I've talked about before come from plants. We call them phytochemicals. So pretty much any food, not pretty much, any food that is a plant has some kind of beneficial compounds in them. It just varies depending on the plant. Okay, so research about regular tea drinking. So keep in mind, we have large populations who drink tea regularly. So we can see what benefits tea has over decades. So benefits include how it can benefit heart health. It may help reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. There's some evidence it can support bone health that's related to fluoride as well as vitamin K. It may reduce the risk of certain types of cancers. Of course, it contributes to hydration, and while I said of course, not everybody realizes that does count. And it even has compounds that might help with reducing tooth decay. And these benefits are in both black and green tea, so there isn't one that wins across the board with all these benefits. So if you do like that grassier taste of green tea, go for it. If you prefer the bolder flavor of black tea, go for it. Either way, you're getting some potential health perks. And just talking about that bolder flavor of black tea, I just have to laugh at Ted Lasso, who just could not stand tea. Called it brown water. All right, so how about some myths and misconceptions? So as I had already said, a lot of people didn't realize that, at least people I talked to, didn't realize that black and green tea come from the same plant. But the other big myth related to green tea is that it's caffeine free. And no, I tell people no, this is not, and they really have to they choose to not trust me and go look it up. So both black and green tea contain caffeine, ranging from 30 to 50 milligrams per cup. That's really based on brew time, not so much the type of tea. And coffee, by comparison, has 100 to 150 milligrams per cup. So 2 to 3 times as much caffeine in a cup of coffee compared to tea. So tea does have less compared to coffee, but it's not caffeine free unless you're drinking an herbal or a decaf version of green or black tea. Now here's another one. Boy, people pick up on this one, that green tea is something that really helps with weight loss. So it's going to help me lose weight. If I drink green tea, I'm going to lose all that weight. Now, okay, this one comes from this compound called EGCG. I would try to say it. It's epogadican gallate. I may be off on that. I used to have to do a presentation on that when I was in grad school. EGCG is what we call it. And this is found in higher concentrations in green tea. And some studies do show that it might slightly boost fat burning or metabolic rate. But here's the thing, we're talking a minimal difference, like less than 50 calories per day. If you think about it, that's not much, okay? That's if you walk from the far end of the parking lot rather than looking for the closest parking space when you're going shopping. So that difference is not enough to cause significant weight loss. So green tea alone is not the magic fix for weight loss. Sure, include it in your overall eating plan. If you're on a weight loss journey, go ahead and include it, but it's not going to be the big fix that people like to think it is. Now, here's another myth, and I didn't realize some people thought this, but that tea has no downsides. Now, for the most part, tea is one of the most benign and safe things that we can consume. It's healthy, but it's not free from drawbacks. So think about this. People think, oh, there's no such thing as too much water. That is wholly untrue. Trust me, that is not a good thing to say. So consuming too much tea can lead to excessive caffeine intake in some individuals because caffeine sensitivity varies based on the person. But also prolonged exposure to large amounts could interfere with iron absorption. Sometimes people have increased risk of kidney stones, and that tea could be part of that. It's not that common, but keep in mind, it's something that does have a potential drawback. So for most people, 3 to 4 cups a day of tea is just fine, but it's worth knowing your tolerance. Okay, so talking about some of those compounds, those unique compounds in the teas. So what makes tea special beyond the caffeine and those antioxidants? So green tea is known for that EGCG. That's that antioxidant I mentioned earlier. That is a total mouthful when you try to say the whole thing. But again, it's not the magic fat burner that people want it to be, because you can even buy green tea extract pills, still won't have that benefit. But it does have protective effects in the body. So there's lots of benefits to having this antioxidant. It's just not that big fat burner alone. Another unique compound is one that's called L-theanine. And this is an amino acid found in tea, especially the green tea, and it promotes calm but an alert state. So when combined with caffeine, it can help you have some steady energy. And keep in mind, when I'm saying energy in this case, more of that steady stimulant, not energy in the form of calories, but without that jittery spike that some people get from coffee. So you still have the caffeine. It's just like, I don't know, a calmer version of caffeine. But that's because of the L-theanine in there. So that's why some people describe it as relaxing and energizing. Now, black tea also has its own beneficial compounds. One of these is called theaflavin or theaflavins. There's several of them. And this is the one of some of those that are linked to heart health, the benefits of tea and heart health, and it may play a role in lowering cholesterol levels. This is one of those things, it might be just a minor thing, and if it turns out it's not accurate, it's not that big a deal if it turns out not to be true. So here's the deal. Really, both types of tea bring something to the table. It's just slightly different benefits. So this is where go with the one that you prefer. Whichever one you enjoy, go for it. So let's address that tea versus coffee. So comparing tea with coffee. So as I said earlier, coffee has about twice the caffeine of tea, in some cases 3 times. So that's why the morning cup of coffee feels so much stronger. If you're a coffee drinker, you definitely notice the difference. But for people who are sensitive to caffeine or prefer less, that would be where tea's a better choice. So that could be having the tea in the afternoon or just having a lower caffeine content. So in that other podcast episode, coffee is loaded with antioxidants too. It's a plant. Tea is loaded with antioxidants. It's a plant. But between the two, there are different kinds of antioxidants. So if you include both, you're getting actually a double benefit or an added benefit because they are different antioxidants. And neither one's better for everyone. It really comes down to your preference, your tolerance for caffeine, and your lifestyle. So again, I'll have this linked in the show notes, episode 195, and that's where I did that deep dive on coffee, caffeine, and the energy beverages. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, that's a good companion to today's episode. Now, as I've said, for me, it's not coffee or tea. It's coffee in the mornings, tea later in the day. You don't have to pick sides. Now, I do need to address these calories and these add-ons. Now, we need to be practical about this. Tea itself is calorie-free. Black tea, green tea, herbal teas, no calories. And then what you add can change that profile. So sweeteners, syrups, bottled teas can turn a healthy drink into a sugary one. So here's some examples. No matter where you live in the United States now, sweet tea is an option. It's very much a Southern thing, or at least it used to be. And now you can get sweet tea nationwide. So a 32-ounce sweet tea from a restaurant can be 130 to 220 calories just from added sugar. Years ago, I had a student who worked at a nationwide chain of Southern, it was based out of the South. And when she told me how much sugar they put in their sweet tea, I was just blown away at how much it is. It's a lot. Many bottled fruit-flavored teas that you get at the store can have as much sugar as soda. If you're at a restaurant where they have peach tea or blackberry tea or all these flavored teas, trust me, those aren't calorie-free. And then even those flavored teas or flavored lattes, tea lattes, can have calories add up quickly if there's syrups and cream in it. Well, if it's a latte, it's already got something else in it. So again, like with coffee, the benefits come from the tea itself, not from the sugar. So if you're choosing tea for health reasons, be aware of what else comes with it. If it's got even a little bit of a sweet taste, you might want to check the ingredients or look up if there's calories in there. Now, another thing I need to address is that hot versus ice. So this is one more thing here. So the good news with hot versus iced, you get the benefits either way. So hot or iced doesn't change the antioxidant content or the health effects. So for most people, it's just a seasonal or personal preference. Hot tea in the winter, iced tea in the summer. And that's how I tend to roll. And I couldn't really tell you where that switchover tends to happen. It just depends on what the environment is outside, and that can vary. But here's one tip though, and this may sound silly, but don't mix lemon and milk in your tea together. So very much traditional, lemon goes into your tea, lemon goes into your iced tea. Now, in some places, we put milk in our hot tea. Now, I mention this only because, picking on my poor son here, when he was younger, he decided to put both in his hot tea. And if you've ever done that, you know what happens. It's not dangerous, okay? But the acid from the lemon can curdle the milk, and it's just not pleasant. You have a bunch of curdled milk in your hot tea, and it's just gross. Okay, so with that, which is better, black or green tea? The answer is both. You don't need to choose one over the other. Both have health benefits. Both contain caffeine, but in lower amounts than coffee. And both can be part of a balanced eating plan, balanced routine. It's part of hydration. The bigger picture is this. Find what works for you. If you like that heavier, not so much heavier, but that boldness of black tea, drink that. If you enjoy the lighter, grassier flavor of green tea, go for that. Or enjoy both, depending on your mood. And remember, it doesn't have to replace coffee. Coffee and tea can coexist in your life. Okay, with that, I mentioned a couple of these already, but I'll mention again. Refer to the blog post comparing black tea and green tea. I have that link in the show notes. The blog on coffee and caffeine, linked in the show notes. This is the one I mentioned, episode 195 of this podcast, linked in the show notes. And then one more thing I have linked in the show notes is the Tea Association of the USA, which has resources on brewing as well as research on tea. All right, everyone. That's it for this episode of Real World Nutrition. If you received some valuable information today, I encourage you to share it with someone who could benefit from this content. And while you're there sharing it, if you haven't already been following the show, a new episode drops every Friday. So when you subscribe or follow or however it is, it works depending on the platform you're in, you'll have it there when you wake up every Friday morning. Okay? All right, everyone, you have a great week ahead and take care. Bye for now.